Hello and welcome to another book reading session from the book called Make Today Count by John C. Maxwell. For those of you who are listening, those of you who are joining this book reading on a regular basis, I really want to thank you for doing so. You are investing in yourself, you are doing something magnificent, being consistent, reading something new, and I'm sure it's going to help you as it's helping me quite a lot. Well, one of the things before I begin today's chapter, I would like to say that there are areas in my life I need to work on, especially when it comes to thinking and all the 12 dozens that we spoke about, especially in terms of, working on my food habits or habits of getting hooked on to watching reels or different videos, especially with what's trending. I think there is a limit to everything, and whenever we go into the excesses of doing things that do not need to be overdone, that's when things just become like a whirlpool. It just sucks you in, and I think the escape is to basically acknowledge it, to recognize it, and to walk with it. So I'm going to be honest. These are things that I'm going through. Maybe there are things that you are struggling with, and I hope that while you develop your habits, develop yourself, reading a book may really help you. May it help you, and may it help you to develop other good habits. So let's continue reading today's chapter, which is commitment. Chapter number 6, commitment. Let's begin. I don't think I really understood the value of commitment until 1976. I was the senior pastor of one of the fastest growing churches in Ohio, and the success we were seeing necessitated a $1 million expansion of our facilities. But there was a problem. I was only 29 years old and I had never led a major building program. Frankly, the task seemed impossible. But at the same time, the future of the church absolutely depended on its success. That's when I made a life decision concerning commitment. If something is worth doing, I will commit myself to carrying it through. I decided that, come what may, I would lead my congregation through the building program. Little did I realize how much that commitment would be tested. Each time we made a decision, more problems arose. Here are just a few. Number one, to accommodate the growth, I needed to improve my staff. That meant terminating some people who were very popular. Number two, more than 200 people in the church, nearly 15%, left the church because they did not agree with the vision. Number three, our bank agreed to lend us the money only if we first raised $300,000 from among the congregation. But I had never led a large financial campaign, and the most I had ever raised for a project was $25,000. The church board's decision, number 4, the church board's decision did not give the bid for the building contract to a member of our church, of our congregation, who owned a construction company, caused him to leave the church, and he had been the church's most generous giver. Number 5, our architect was careless with disbursements to contractors, which made the project cost over $125,000 more than it should have been. You've heard the old saying that motion causes friction. During the entire process, there was enough friction to cause a 5-alarm fire. A 5-alarm fire. I felt like I was in the hot seat every day. If I hadn't made the commitment early in the process, I would never have made it through. The first section, making the decision to make and keep proper commitments daily. If you desire to have uh, if you desire to have great tenacity to accomplish the things you desire, then make the decision to embrace commitment wholeheartedly in your life. Begin by doing the following. Number one, count the cost. After the Nazis drove the British army from the European continent at Dunkirk and obtained France's surrender in June 1940, the Germans were certain that victory in Europe was at hand and that Great Britain would seek a peace agreement. France also believed that was true. French General Maxime Weygand told Charles de Gaulle, who was the colonel at the time, when I've been beaten here, England won't wait a week before negotiating with the Reich. But the Germans and the French underestimated the commitment of Winston Churchill, who had become England's Prime Minister in May, and of the British people. Churchill knew what was at stake in the conflict, as evidenced by his remarks at the time. Churchill said, "What General Weygand called the Battle of France is over. I expect that the Battle of Britain is about to begin. Upon this battle depends the survival of Christian civilization. Upon it depends our own British life. Hitler knows that he will have to break us in this island or lose the war. If we can stand up to him, all Europe may be free. But if we fail, then the whole world, including the United States, including all that we have known and cared for, will sink into the abyss of a new dark age. Let us therefore brace ourselves to our duties, and so bear ourselves that, if the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say this was their finest hour." The war that England fought was long and bloody. They suffered terrible bombing from the Nazis, and for a long time they stood alone. But they stood. Their commitment was unwavering, and because they stood, the Allies won the war. I believe their resolve was strong not only because they knew what was at stake, but also because they had a sense of what price they were being asked to pay. It can be very difficult to stand by a commitment naively made. The commitment becomes much stronger when you have already counted the cost. Very well said. Commitments are truly a mark of character. I remember Psalm 15, which says, which speaks about Psalm 15 from the Bible. It speaks about a perfect person or a perfect man. I can read that to you, and it speaks volumes. It speaks volumes about commitment. Give me a moment. Let me just open it and read that for you. Psalms 15. And I remember reading it as a young person, and I was quite impressed by it. In Psalm 15, verse 2 onwards, the one whose walk is blameless, who does what is righteous, who speaks the truth from their heart, whose tongue utters no slander, who does no wrong to a neighbor and casts no slur on others, who despises the vile person but honors those who fear the Lord, who keeps an oath even when it hurts. This line here, who keeps an oath even when it hurts and does not change their mind. So that's the mark of a person with commitment. Even if it hurts, they don't change. People don't change their mind. The people who have made a commitment. So that's about counting the cost. That's about making sure that you come through. So let's go to the second point. Determined to pay the price. Once you count the cost, then you have to decide whether you are really willing to do what it takes to follow through. U.S. Senator Sam Nunn said, "You have to pay the price. You will find that everything in life exacts a price, and you will have to decide whether the price is worth the price." Price And the wordplay here is price, Price, and prize, Prize, you know. So whether the price is worth the price. When I went off to college, I was determined to stay committed and focused on preparing for the ministry. But I knew there would be a price. Many of my college friends got married while still in school, and some even had children. Margaret and I waited. Despite our shared desire to begin our married life, it was a difficult journey, and to this day, I don't recommend engagements as long as ours. But our commitment paid off. A few weeks after we graduated, we got married, and we waited several years before having children. As a result, I was prepared when I entered the ministry, and I could focus on establishing my career during those important early years. Point number 3, always strive for excellence. Howard W. Newton said, people forget how fast you did a job, but they remember how well you did it. Few things fire up a person's commitment like dedication to excellence. The desire for excellence carried Michelangelo through to the completion of his work on the Sistine Chapel. Excellence drove Edison to keep trying until he figured out how to make a light bulb that worked. Excellence drives the companies Jim Collins wrote about in Built to Last and Good to Great. Anyone who desires to achieve and become successful must be like a fine craftsman, committed to excellence. A great craftsman wants you to inspect his work, to look closely at its finest details. In contrast, sloppy people hide their work, and if anyone finds fault with it, shoddy workers find fault with their tools. Which are you most like? Excellence means doing your very best in everything, in every way. That kind of commitment will take you where half-hearted people never go. These are very good words. Which are you most like? Good question. And these days, I need to sit down and ask myself, which one am I? Am I a good craftsman who wants to let his work be scrutinized, or am I a sloppy worker who blames it on everyone else apart from my own self? Let's go to the second section, that is managing the discipline of commitment. After I made the decision to commit myself to the building program at my church, I knew that I would need to find a way to keep myself on track. So I determined to live out this discipline. Every day I will renew my commitment and think about the benefits that come from it. To do that, I carried a laminated card with me every day for 18 months. Here's what was written on it. The moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issue from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance which no man could have dreamed would come his way. William H. Murray. I read that card every day as we were going through the project. On especially difficult days when I felt like throwing in the towel, I read it 2 or 3 times. It helped me to stay focused and feel encouraged. I thought, if I stay committed and do all I can, and then I ask God to make up the difference, we can achieve this. And we did. When you accomplish something that you once believed was impossible, it makes you a new person. It changes the way you see yourself and the world. My thinking went to a new level, and the vision for my leadership expanded. I never would have gotten there without commitment. My personal commitment and that of many others was a key to our success. As you strive to keep your commitments daily, keep the following in mind. Number 1, expect commitment to be a struggle. When our children were young and living at home, Margaret and I decided one summer we wanted to take them on a vacation that focused on how the United States was built as a nation. We started out in New York City. We went to Ellis Island, the long-time gateway into the country, and got a feel for the millions of immigrants who came to America with a dream of building a better life. We visited Philadelphia. We saw the room where our country became a nation with the signing of the Declaration of Independence. We viewed the Liberty Bell, and we visited the graves of the brave men who signed the Declaration of Independence. After that, we traveled south to Williamsburg, Virginia, the home of Patrick Henry, who declared, "Give me liberty or give me death." And we ended the trip to Washington, D.C. As we looked up at the towering Washington monument, we were reminded of the United States' struggle to become a nation. As we gazed at the huge statue of Lincoln at his memorial, we recalled the struggle we have endured to remain a nation. Everywhere we went, we were confronted with the commitment of the men and women who founded and preserved our country. We learned about the risks they took, the battles they fought, and the sacrifices they made. The greatest honors were reserved for those who endured the greatest struggles. The stakes were high, but so were the rewards. We still enjoy the freedom they won for us. That trip taught us a great lesson to our family. Anything worth having is going to be a struggle. Commitment doesn't come easy, but when you're fighting for something you believe in, the struggle is worth it. Let's go to the next point, or point number 2 in this section. Don't rely on talent alone. If you want to reach your potential, you need to add a strong work ethic to your talent. Poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow shared much insight when he wrote, The heights by great men reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, were toiling upward in the night. If you want something out of your day, you must put something in it. Your talent is what God put in before you were born. Let me read that again. If you want something out of your day, you must put something in it. Your talent is what God put in before you were born. Amazing words. Your skills are what you put in yesterday. Commitment is what you must put in today in order to make today your masterpiece and make tomorrow a success. Quote this and keep this as a reminder. Good words. Let's go to the third section. That's the third point. Focus on choices, not conditions. In general, people approach daily commitment in one or two ways. They focus on the external or the internal. Those who focus on the external expect conditions to determine whether they keep their commitments, because conditions are so transitory. Their commitment level changes like the wind. In contrast, people who base their actions on the internal usually focus on their choices. Each choice is a crossroad, one that will either confirm or compromise their commitments. When you come to a crossroad, you can recognize it because, number one, a personal decision is required. Number two, the decision will cost you something. Number three, others will likely be influenced by it. Your choices are the only thing you truly control. You cannot control your circumstances, nor can you control others. By focusing on your choices and then making them with integrity, you control your commitment. And that is what often separates success from failure. This is point number 4. That's be single-minded. Nothing stokes commitment like single-minded effort that results in achievement. A great example of that truth can be found in the story of English minister William Carey. Although he had only had an elementary education, by the time Carey was in his teens, he could read the Bible in 6 languages. Wow! Because of his talent for languages, when he was in his early 30s, he was chosen to be a missionary to India. 6 years later, in 1799, he founded the Serampo mission. A few years after that, he became professor of Oriental languages at Fort William College in Calcutta, or as we call it today, Kolkata. He also used his talent with languages in becoming a publisher. His press at Serampo printed Bibles in 40 languages and dialects for more than 300 million people. To what did Carey attribute his success? How was he able to accomplish what he did? He said it was because he was a plodder. Describing himself, Carey said, "Anything beyond this will be too much. I can plod. That is my only genius. I can preserve in any definite pursuit. To this I owe everything." A plodder. So what does the word plodder mean? What does it actually? Work slowly and perseveringly at a dull task. Plodder. Anything beyond this will be too much. I can plod. This man was willing to work perseveringly. Many, including me, we all would have given up, but he never gave up. And he left a big legacy behind him. Amazing life. Now let's go to the fifth point. Do what's right even when you don't feel like it. Thomas E. Buckner said, "To bring oneself to a frame of mind and to the proper energy to accomplish things that require plain hard work continuously is the one big battle that everyone has. And this battle is won for all time, then everything is easy." One of the things I admire about great athletes is their understanding of this truth. That's one of the reasons I enjoy watching the Olympics. When the Olympic athletes come into the stadium during the opening ceremonies and prepare to participate in the games, one of the things that they do is to recite the following: "I have prepared. I have followed the rules. I will not quit." Anyone who can say that with integrity can be proud of him or herself, no matter what happens afterward. As Arthur Gordon, author of A Touch of Wonder, said, "Nothing is easier than saying words. Nothing is harder than living them day after day. What you promise today must be renewed and redecided tomorrow, and each day that stretches out before you. If you do what you should only when you really feel like it, you won't keep your commitment consistently." My friend Ken Blanchard says, "When you are interested in something, you do it only when it's convenient. When you're committed to something, you accept no excuses, only results. If you refuse to give in to excuses, no matter how good they may sound or how good they will make you feel in the moment, you have the potential to go far." Excellent chapter. It's amazing. Whether you feel like it or not, you just repeat yourself. You just say this: "I have prepared. I have followed the rules. I will not quit." I love this. I'm gonna keep this with me. So that's it. We come to the final section of the questions. Your commitment decision today. Where do you stand when it comes to commitment today? Ask yourself these three questions. Have I already made the decision to make and keep proper commitments daily? Yes, but I need to write it down. What are those commitments? Number two, if so, when did I make that decision? Every day I'm making them, but today more so. What exactly did I decide? That I will first of all write down these commitments so that I can actually talk about it. Your commitment discipline every day. Based on the decision you made concerning commitment, what is the one discipline you must practice today and every day in order to be successful? That is to make commitments and to make sure that I work on them and not just talk about it. So thank you so much. That's it for today. We end today's session. We will move on to the next chapter. We're coming very close, folks, to finishing this book. But let me tell you, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to read this. And let me also tell you, I don't know how many people are reading this book. I don't know how many people are joining in the reading of this book. But if you're one of them, I want to thank you. And even if there are not many people reading or not many people joining in this reading on my YouTube channel, it doesn't matter. What matters is you do something that works for you. You just do it. Don't worry about what people say or not say, but just do it. You know? And I'm encouraged by a lot of people who are doing a fantastic job, an excellent job of doing the best they can in their life. And this chapter gives me a much more clearer understanding of appreciation of people who commit and do a lot of things through the commitment. So commit, do it, and thank you so much for joining in. We'll catch up tomorrow. God bless.